Are you dealing with knee cave? Well, if you are, the go-to drill is this guy right here, right? All you gotta do is go through your normal squatting pattern, force your knees out against this band, and that's how we gain better motor control of our knee. Wrong. This is a common fallacy. When we understand the function of the knee and its relationship with the foot-ankle complex as well as the hip, this doesn't make any sense. We have to understand that when a lifter runs into control issues of the knee or pain of the knee, this almost always has to do with one of two different root causes. The first root cause is a foot-ankle complex. The second root cause is something to do with the hip. To describe this relationship, a really good reference I like to use is your knee is kind of like a private in a stereotypical military movie. The private doesn't think for himself, doesn't do for himself. He only takes commands from his commander, chief, however you want to put it, whatever verbiage you want to use. His commander is the foot-ankle complex and the hip. Okay, so the knee is a conduit of communication between the foot-ankle and the hip. Whenever we have knee issues, it's not because of the knee itself, except in very specific scenarios. In relationship to squatting or lifting, it's always because something has happened, a dysfunction is taking place at the foot, ankle, or the hip. We're going to cover several different examples of how we address this and what this looks like. The first common root cause, like I mentioned previously, is this hip. Now, two of the most common reasons why we have hip issues that causes downstream motor control issues taking place at the knee is because of an individual not bracing their trunk optimally. When we don't brace our trunk optimally, we lack motor control of our lumbopelvic structure, of our hips themselves, so they're more likely to deviate position and then lose control of the knee, have knee position deviate, and with it oftentimes comes pain. So when individuals do not create this 360 sheath of rigidity that we should be seeing when it comes to axial loaded movement especially, oftentimes what we'll see is something like this at the start of the eccentric. Classic anterior pelvic tilt. There's so many lifters out there that experience this, typically looking something like this here. They first go into anterior pelvic tilt, they go through a squat, they have severe knee cave, they get to the top and like, time to put a band around my knees and force my knees out a bunch of times, right? Wrong, because this doesn't get to the root cause. The root cause is an inability to control that lumbopelvic structure, deviating at that lumbopelvic structure and experiencing downstream downregulation and motor control and force production because of it. So what we have to do is we have to learn how to create better trunk rigidity, which is going to stabilize and control that hip position better. And then we may also need to pay attention to hinge mechanics, allowing this upper body to fall forward and allowing the lifter to hinge more effectively without experiencing this dysfunction, or rather this loss in position that's contributing or causing that loss of control at the knee.
And the second root cause for knee cave is loss of rooting and dysfunction at the foot. Can see here in my foot, this band, if I had a shorter stance, I would just need to tighten the band up more. This band is literally trying to pull my feet in the same direction my knees are probably going in the squat. This can help prove to you that by good rooting, and look at this ankle, boom, boom, those skills will help draw the knee right in line with my squat. Now, the one I prefer is the band X drill. We're just gonna double a band up. We're gonna make a figure eight out of it. We're gonna step through each side of that figure eight. Once I'm here, I'm going under the big toe, over these, and under the little toe. Really important to go in that direction. I used to forget all the time how to set this up. Make a figure eight, under the big toe, under the little toes. Now you'll see it's doing a couple things here. It's also trying to pull my ankles in. So I have to effectively use my foot, root that foot, ground it, so I can get optimal ankle stacking. I'm gonna pull these out. Notice what it's doing to my pinky toes. For some people, that extra band can be a little too much there, and that's okay. Now, I'm forcing those little toes down, and I can go through my squat mechanics. This is trying to drive my ankles and knees in, trying to pick my toes up, kill all of those with one great drill.
To recap, when you are suffering from knee cave or knee pain, this is always stemming from one of these two issues. Either it's an issue or dysfunction at the foot-ankle complex or the hip. Putting a band around the knee and absolutely obsessing over forcing your knee outward is not an effective change. It's like putting a band-aid on an issue that needs stitches. What we need to do is get down to the root cause, and the root cause is one of these two items. Remember, the knee doesn't do for itself, it doesn't think for itself, it does what it's told, and the people telling it what it needs to do is that foot ankle, is that hip, so we need to address one of those two items. But first, assess the movement pattern itself and determine which one of those two is causing the dysfunction. Sometimes it's an issue of an individual losing that lumbopelvic condition, or position rather, than losing downstream motor control because of it. Sometimes the issue of somebody not stacking their ankle very well in the beginning, or just not having very good rooting as they go through the squat pattern, and they have the same issues upstream because of it. Assess what it is and then address one of those two and get to the bottom of where this dysfunction is coming from.